Hey guys, I'm Alexa with Strategic Placement Group. Welcome back to our SPG podcast. Joining me today is one of my favorite people, my husband Stan, my best friend, my business partner.
Hello, hello, hello.
Today, babe, I've asked you to come back and join us again because we've done several other videos in regards to the marketing budget.
Yes.
And we are very specific in the marketing budget about how your in-kind is different than your budget. So when you do things like a lot of local businesses will do things supporting their local football teams,
Yes.
supporting different groups, and they're putting that in with their market budget. And
Right.
we've pretty much made it clear why you should not, but we've never really taken the opportunity to tell anybody why. So
Sure.
I kind of
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about that today.
Yeah, no, it's a good subject to have. To be honest, the marketing that you're going to get from putting a sign on a baseball field, for example, you're doing that in a sense to support the school, and that's great. That's
Right.
fine. You need to do that if you have the ability to do that in your local community. But at the end of the day, that's not going to sell you any more cars. It's really not going to sell you that many more, whatever it is that you sell or do or service or provide. It's good to have name recognition. I can't disagree with that. And usually they're not terribly expensive to do those things. But one of the problems that you find when you do that is you do that one time,
Right.
and then everybody's knocking on your door for that $150 here, $500 there, $300 for this, $200 for that. Before you know it, there's a couple thousand extra dollars that you didn't really plan on.
Right.
It just sneaks up on you.
Right. Well, and I think when you have it, like you said, in when you're creating your marketing budget, you really need to sit down and create that as a whole for your year or at least your quarter. Would you not think?
Set an amount aside if you want to do donations to charities, to schools, to whatever in your whatever cause in your area that you want to support. Great if you have the ability to do so.
Right.
We just caution our clients to not put that into the marketing budget. Make a separate budget in your line items, or a separate line item in your budget for donations, charitable contributions, whatever you want to call it, and then count all of those as such.
Right. So it's not that it's a bad thing.
Not at all. Very good
all.
thing. It's when you're counting on that $500 or $1,000 or $200 or whatever it is, you're counting on that to sell your product, to
Right.
help you sell your product.
So it really is like a common mistake of mislabeling. It really isn't part of your marketing budget.
I don't think it should be. No.
It's really, I think what it sounds like in our experiences, what we've had with our clients, it sounds like it's just kind of something that in the process of when you're thinking about everything you're putting money towards in the aspects of advertising.
Right.
It kind of gets lumped in there.
It does.
So really it should be set apart and have its own budget. And we normally call that like in-kind, right? That's
That
the
or,
stuff
like I said, charitable contributions, whatever you call your line item in your budget, your expenditure budget.
Right.
Whatever that line item is, keep it separate from marketing. Have an amount set up for marketing, but then if you want to be charitable, great, love it, do all that you can do, but make that a separate line item allocation. So charitable contribution, donations, whatever you want to call it, just don't lump it into marketing.
Right. So do you have any examples? I mean, have you found, I know we've dealt with this several times, but is there anybody that stands out to you that, you don't necessarily have to name a client, but give us some examples of things that you've had to go in and kind of clean up their budget and what you had to clean it up to?
Well, for years myself, yes, but most recently Jane here in the office, she has a client in town that...
Jane's one of our AEs. If you do not know her, you should. We know her and love her.
She's been working for probably a year and a half just trying to clean all that up from one client.
Okay.
And that client, great client, wonderful business, very charitable, extremely giving, and they're so giving that they almost don't say no.
Okay.
So the problem, if it is a problem, if you have the money to donate, it's not a problem, but it can get out of hand. The problem is, just like I explained earlier, they do one or two things, and then over time, everybody's knocking on the door. It could be an ad on anything. The local sheriff's department does a calendar every year.
Right.
And they want businesses on there so they can get the calendar.
Right. Or the local schools all do these discount cards.
The discount cards, the football programs, the basketball programs, the sign on the fields or in the stadium, or the list goes on and on
Right.
and on. And mostly it's school oriented. And again, I can't say it enough. If you have the ability as a business to help those institutions, outstanding,
Right.
great. That aside, also be careful that we have several universities in our area. And there's one in particular in town that has a great program for basketball, great program for football, and there's a local radio station that airs these games.
Right, absolutely.
And that's great. People can listen at their own convenience and don't necessarily have to be there. Not a bad place to go.
Okay.
If that's your target audience. Okay. But
okay,
how it is kind of presented
right.
is it's usually sold first to any business owner they know that may be an alumni of said university. And it's sometimes presented in a way that this is a donation to help out the school. They don't say donation, but this is to help out the school.
Right. So it's more of being supportive versus this is a good marketing strategy.
You can look at it as being supportive, but at the end of the day, to my knowledge, none of that money goes to the school. It goes to the radio station. I could be wrong on that, depending on the station and your market and what they have worked out with examples like this. That may very well be, but by and large, that money doesn't go to the school. So if you're doing that because you think you're supporting the school, just send a donation check to the school.
Right.
Don't do that particular example of a radio program for the sole purpose of thinking that you're doing it to help out the school. If you're doing it because that target audience is who you need to go after,
right? Great,
but that's got nothing to do with helping out a school. That's got to do with helping you as a business owner. So we just have to mentally think about that differently.
Because I never would have thought about that. I mean, we have kids. Obviously, we're always dealing in stuff going on in the schools, and we've supported several things, but I never really sit down and think about what exactly is this going to, or sometimes you just don't think to question. You just really want to be supportive. So I think it is important to find out, okay, where exactly is this going? How much does this go to the kids?
And when we do that as a business, our line item is, in this example, a charitable contribution.
Right.
It does not go into our marketing allocation.
It does not.
So it is completely separate. We don't think that we're going to get a single bit of business off of doing that because we're writing a check to a school or to an area organization that helps people or whatever we're doing. We do that because we want to give. If we have the ability to give at that time, sometimes we don't always have the ability.
That's happened before, yes.
But if we do, we do it with that mindset that we're trying to explain here today. Is that we're doing it to help that organization, school, whatever it is, not for the purpose of helping us out from a marketing standpoint.
Right. And I think it's just one of those things too that it goes back to just giving back to community and helping out, and you're really doing it more in the aspects of just wanting to see a good thing keep going versus
sure. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
We did that, and that was us, and it's not always about we created all those signs or that window or that so people know who we are. It's really just because pride in the place where your children go or you're an alumni for, or whatever.
Sure. And one other thing to touch on is you had mentioned you used the term in-kind contribution or donation. For our purposes, we do have a line item in our budget for that. And usually once a year, we try and work with a nonprofit of some kind.
Okay. Yes, we do. I'm talking to you like I don't know. I promise I really do work here.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. It was just kind of funny.
I had a comeback that I just bit my tongue.
I appreciate that, dear.
It's bleeding a little bit.
Yeah.
In-kind contribution. So, we try and get a an area organization, a charitable, a nonprofit that we can help out in some capacity, depending on what it is they need. Sometimes we're able to do something at no charge to them, and we show that as an in-kind contribution. So,
right.
From a tax purpose standpoint, we get to deduct that as off of income, which helps us out as a business. But also, there are times where they may require something that we just can't completely give them,
right?
But we may severely discount it for them to help them out. So we would have on the invoice, whatever the line item is that we're charging for, and then a billing adjustment for the in-kind donation of service. So that's how we choose to do it. You as a business owner can obviously do that however you'd like. I think the main point here today to stress is that just don't think of donations and charitable contributions as part of your marketing budget.
Right. You really want to, because you do have a point too. When you, it's almost like your name gets put on this massive list and everybody just starts coming to your door. I mean, I know that we've got one client that comes to mind that was giving to this and giving to that. And he was with his local high school, but then he was with the basketball team. And then there was another maybe it was another organization involving the kids. That
it just snowballs. It just keeps going and going.
It really, really does. And you were able to really cut back once you separated it all and gave him this is what your marketing budget should be.
Sure.
And this is all different. I mean, it was just like there was such a, not a discount, but the number was so much smaller when he started looking at it like, oh my goodness, that's really what I need to deal with here.
Yeah. So in that example, I know what you're talking about there. In that example, there ended up being, it was a lot of money. It was several $1,000s that added up over time that was going to a charitable contribution or donation standpoint. In the client's mind, thinking that was all going to marketing. That's my whole marketing budget. So, why am I not getting what I want in my ROI from that investment? Mm-hmm. Well, when you factor in the thousands of dollars of that investment, that's not really an investment. It's a donation. And you can separate that out and say, look, if you can afford to make these donations, that's great. But you need to take that money mentally, that budget that you're allowing there, and put it back into marketing.
Right.
So now we have a focused effort dollar-wise.
Right. Or even if you want to keep it here for your contributions.
Yeah. But that's where I was going. So you gotta take whatever that amount was. Say, okay, well, I took $20,000 last year out of my marketing and I put it in donations. Okay, well, I need to take $20,000, get it back into my head, into my marketing budget. Now I have to decide, okay, cool, I need all of that for running my stuff. Mm-hmm. Do I still have any left over because you want to contribute and be a part of that community to help out? Can I afford to do that?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't build your business, at some point, you're not going to be able to do any contributions.
Right. You're not
you
going to be able
out
to
of
help
business.
Anybody else anymore. Right. But I love what that point, though, you were saying of, that person wasn't seeing the return. Here they're thinking in their mind, they're spending all this money, but they're not getting a return on it. And what is, and then it comes back, if they have an agency, they're coming back to their agency going, what are you guys doing?
Right. Yeah.
And essentially it's like, well, technically it's not your agency's problem. It's because in your mind you've got the wrong number.
Right. And if you out there listening and watching either handle your marketing yourself or maybe you utilize an agency, one of our things that we do is we like to go over those budgets with the client to help them out. I mean, it's nothing that we charge for. It's nothing that we're going to, you're not going to get a bill from us for that. I can't speak for the agency that you may be using out there, but the way we operate is, we like to go over those numbers. We like to know what's going on so that we can offer suggestions to help streamline certain processes and make things more efficient.
Right.
Sometimes we can help with that. Sometimes we can't. But it never hurts to take a look and see.
That's right.
And more times than not, this particular subject comes up and we're able to isolate those items out and have the client understand that, oh, okay, cool. I get it now.
Right.
Yeah. I still want to be charitable, so I need to set an annual amount, or maybe it's a percentage of your monthly sales or whatever you decide to do, but you have a certain amount that's dedicated to that, and that's it.
Right.
So, 83 people can come knocking on your door wanting that $100 and $200 here and there, But once that well is dry, you just have to say, I'm sorry. You got to come to me earlier next year.
Right.
And ask.
Well, that's just part of doing business. I think that's not always a fun part. I mean, we're business owners. Sometimes you hate to be like, I'm so sorry, I can't do that this year. But like for us, as an example, there's, especially with our in-kind stuff, we like to try to spread it out. So it's not always the same thing every year.
Right.
So sometimes there's different ways that, I mean, you just need to decide how you want to run your business and how that's going to work for you.
Absolutely.
If it truly is giving to your local sports teams, if you're alumni for a university or whatever, if that's where your dollars are best serving you, if that's where your heart is, I mean, that's truly where you need to put that. But I love that point of, once you've figured that money out,
stick with it.
Stick with it. Because
stand your ground with it.
Yeah. If your business isn't making money, then how are you going to be able to give other people money?
That's right.
So
I think that's good.
I think it is. I think we've covered this. Thank you so much for coming back in.
And if you all listening have any questions, leave them in the comments. Contact us. Hit the likey bell.
Yes. Make sure to subscribe to our channel.
That thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Hit the like bell. Hit the bell for more notifications on upcoming videos. Feel free to go through and look at any old videos we've done on this subject as well. We invite you always to come down and talk to us if you have any questions. And as always, my friends,
until next time.
Next time.